Hey everybody, it's Michael. And guess what? Bigfoot Collectors Club is back. But before we get to this week's episode, I have some Patreon shout-outs. So, I would like to thank our supporters over at Bigfoot Collectors Club, the other side. They are Heidi Klein, Maureen Ellsbury, Lily Evans, Leah Thompson, Joe Weiss, Abby Matthews, Jody, Wandering Star 78, Jessica Gunther, Sylvanus Paul, Frida Masters, and Asher Sloth. Thank you guys so much for supporting the show. Honestly, we cannot do it without you and patrons just like you. Everyone, thank you so much. We love you. Kisses. Now time for the show. Yep.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. The potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic processes.
And so, my fellow Americans, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. I have a dream. My poor little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today.
For the eyes of the world now look into space, to the moon, and to the planets beyond. We have vowed that we shall not see space filled with weapons of mass destruction, but with instruments of knowledge and understanding.
As one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
It's Bigfoot Collectors Club with Bryce and Michael. I know a ghost story or two. Let's do this.
Guys, why is it that summers aren't feeling like summers right now?
Climate change.
Good call. Riley wins.
I feel it's also like
race.
old change.
What do
Like
you mean?
I'm just getting old. I just had my 15-year-old nephew in town, and that dude knows how to summer. He rolls into LA, he gets a trip to E3 and a trip to Disneyland, then he pieces out and plays all the Persona games for the rest of the summer. This kid is chilling, and
Rollerblades on Venice.
I wanted to tell him.
Ice cream scoops at the malt shop.
I wanted to say to him before he left, this is the last summer you're ever going to have that's like this. But, I didn't want to ruin it. He'll figure that out. But, geez, it's already July 4th.
Yeah.
And I feel like all I've been doing is hustling.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
What is up? I need a vacation to a tropical island.
That would be nice, man. Got to make that Skrilla. Got to make those ends meet, son.
Bigfoot bucks.
Hell
Well,
yeah. Got to make those Bigfoot dollars.
I like he
that-
says hustling one time and you just go full street. You're just like,
Every now and then a little street pops out of Bryce.
Yeah, man.
Hey,
I like
everybody,
it.
welcome
I
back
like
to
this
Bigfoot
side.
Collectors Club, the show where we talk to amazing guests about their personal paranormal history and share stories of high strangeness. I'm your host, Michael McMillan. With me always is your other host
Bryce motherfucking Johnson.
and our super producer.
Riley Bray.
And guys, we're laid back and we're chilling because it is our second annual Bigfoot Collectors Club 4th of July special.
Happy 4th, people.
That's where you get to kick it with your Bigfoot boys, and we will tell a high strangeness story that involves a president.
Oh, yeah,
but
I
that's
love those.
later in the show. Guys, before we kick into what we want to do today,
So throw on a burger, Papa Sammy.
Do you Papa Sammy?
Sure, Papa Sammy Adams. Why not?
Oh, I
I
was
think
thinking
it-
about a sandwich.
I think you're
Oh,
popping
oh.
a sandwich
I'm
in your
just
mouth.
cutting off all the words.
Pop open a fresh sandwich.
Bryce is just product placing his new product, Sammy in a can.
Sammy in a can.
Oh my God, poppin' Sammys. You should do that. Because honestly, this business is done. Okay. Speaking of business, I'm going to do a little housekeeping up
Okay.
at the top of the show. First of all, I want to let everyone know that a few weeks ago, Bryce and I were on former guest Ryan Sprague's podcast, Somewhere in the Skies.
Yeah.
We had a blast talking about Contact in the Desert, which you've heard about because that was our live show. And also, if you're a Patreon, you heard us talk about that the other week.
That dude's the man.
That dude is awesome.
He's over at Alien Con right now, repping.
Update, I did not go.
I know, me neither.
Because I was so tired.
But I saw the pictures, and that's what I was looking for. Like lines outside the Coliseum, people in alien costumes. Just it looked fun, you know?
Yeah.
We
a
are
festival environment.
We are
festival
going
environment.
next summer official. We got to figure
All right,
that
good.
out. I needed a little bit more heads up and a little bit more.
Not that Contact
sleep.
wasn't fun. I mean, I had a friggin'
No,
blast.
and
that was
guess
so fun.
what? I guess I can announce this.
Do it.
We've been officially invited back for next year.
Nailed
hell
it.
yeah.
So
Nice.
we will be back at Contact in the Desert.
I can't wait.
And
honestly.
we're gonna have an even bigger and better show next summer. So if you're thinking about coming,
Yeah.
you have a year to plan to
Yeah.
come see us at Contact in the Desert in Indian Wells, California.
It was
pulling
Riley's
out all the
Theremin.
stops next
Uh,
year.
we will have more information when that becomes
Book your
available.
tickets now.
Book your tickets now. Guys, also, we have new shirts up at tpublic.com.
Oh, yeah, those
I
are
love
killer.
They're so
we have
good.
High Strangeness shirts based on Bryce's Red Devil, his tuna can devil.
Yeah, man.
Gotta skirt around that copyright. But they're illustrated by Ryan Cody, who was my artist on Adventure Van. So if you haven't been over to the TeePublic shop, Google Bigfoot Collectors, go to tpublic.com, search Bigfoot Collectors Club, and you will find the new shirts there.
I
They're
love
really
at
fun.
the start at the Contact in the Desert. Michael's like, I might have been visited by an alien gray, and then I'm like, and I was visited by the devil when I was a boy, and then just like,
A cold
I know,
chill
then we
came
made
over the room.
shirts.
yeah, like Michael's
Gra-
like, don't mention that.
Grace was like, Satan scares people. And then,
Oh, right.
and
Satan
then we made a
scares
shirt
people.
about it.
My
but,
bad.
But the shirt is
Yeah,
badass.
dude.
And of course, all colors and shirts are customizable,
Yep.
so you can kind of design the one you want. Finally, we've had a couple questions about what happened to our Facebook page, and I have an answer for you. That Facebook page was set up under my account when we first started the show, and guess what? I hard bounced on Facebook.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
all
I
right.
deleted my account, and
Congratulations.
with that went the BCC page. Now, I was aware of this being an issue. I felt a little bad about it. In fact, I even though I hadn't updated the BCC Facebook site in a while, I only hung in there that long because I thought, shit, well, you know, some people like to go to that page. Here's the thing. Maybe we'll do another Facebook page. Most likely not. But if you, the listener out there, want to start a group page, by all means, do it.
Nice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm into that.
for sure.
I feel like that's something we can hand over to our listeners to curate. If anyone wants to take the leap and do that, feel free. Contact us at
Yeah, hit us up
BigfootCollectorsClub
if you really
at
wanna run it.
gmail.com. Let us know if you want to do that. Otherwise, Instagram is kind of the spot. If you want to see any photos or anything that we're doing, even though it's owned by Facebook, that's kind of our jam. Come follow along there. And of course, we're also occasionally tweeting over at Twitter. But
Yeah.
if you want visuals, come to Instagram.
And I dig the Twitter too, because it's a nice group environment to be just communicating that way. Whereas pictures, you're just like, cool pic. And like,
Yeah, well,
Twitter, we can get down into some
I'm
more
a little
gritty
bit more
stuff.
running the Instagram side of things, and Bryce is running the Twitter side of things a little bit more. And Bryce does a good job of catching some of the latest like articles and reposting them over Twitter. I really like.
I so
telling
regret
stories and pictures.
picking that handle, beat Bigfoot _C Club, because I was trying to do like Bigfoot Collectors Club, but it was like too long, and I didn't have the wherewithal to do Bigfoot.
I mean, maybe we can change it
podcast and lose all of our 500 followers.
We can just switch it over to BCC.
Yeah,
all 500.
You know, maybe we'll have more if our handle isn't Bigfoot _C Club.
What would be the ultimate Twitter handle?
Sexy naked Bigfoot.
Oh yeah, why didn't I think of that?
That's how you get the
BCC?
BCC podcast.
BCC podcast.
That would be a good one.
Yeah, we're learning as we go along.
Great. Now somebody's going to take it and sell us back to it.
Honestly, I didn't even notice that our Facebook page was gone, so that's how plugged into all that.
Well, Riley, you don't check your fucking texts to save your goddamn life.
I know, because a lot of time
Riley's
I'm
a busy
recording.
guy.
It's on airplane right
you
now.
gotta be like an actor and have that phone on you at
fuck
all
that.
times.
Fuck that. I don't
You
even
need
answer
to be
that phone when my
checking.
agent
That's
calls.
right.
Fuck all
That
that
is
shit.
such
Yeah,
a
leave
lie.
voicemail,
some
bitch.
Bill Murray shit. I'm gonna get a tape
biggest
message
lie.
machine. That's what I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
Oh boy. All right. Anyway, that's the end of housekeeping. Let's get on with today's show. How's everybody doing?
Awesome.
Yeah, very good.
Except for this fucking tooth.
What's going on with that
Except for the
tooth?
excruciating
Big
pain.
tooth?
Except for the
What's happening, Big
excruciating,
Tooth?
throbbing pain in my mouth. I don't know.
What's up
See,
with you and your bones?
I don't know, dude. I got some tooth shit going down. So
Bryce's face is very swollen
It's
right now.
pretty swollen.
It-
Your
I
cheeks
look
are
like,
almost as chubby as mine.
oh, fuck, whatever, dude. Whatever. Yeah, I'm in a little pain, but it's okay. I enjoy this distraction.
Are you on anything?
No, I was like, I even asked the dentist. I was at the dentist today, and I was like, so what should I do to manage the pain? Hint, hint, wink, wink. And
Yeah.
he was just kind of like, Tylenol. You could go 3 of them. And I'm like, oh, thanks, doc.
All 3, huh?
Yeah, wow, great.
Sounds like somebody's going to be back on the old cannabis.
Oh shit! No, cannabis wouldn't do anything to eliminate
Are
pain.
you kidding?
What?
No,
Does everything.
it does everything. It
Haven't
doesn't
you
eliminate tooth pain.
Sure it does.
Sure it will.
It just makes you like
Just
enter a
makes you
dimensional
more
portal in
high.
your mind, and while your tooth hurts,
Dude,
Makes your tooth hurt in space.
yeah, that's exactly.
it transports your tooth to the
Yeah,
Bigfoot dimension.
The wifey wouldn't be having that, so we'll just tolerate
All right.
pain.
Oh, boy. All right.
Stoic.
Stoic.
Well, I can always punch you in the dick, and then
That
that
would hurt.
pain will distract
Yeah.
from your tooth pain.
Let's do that.
Guys,
Yeah.
since I've last seen you,
Yep.
I've been to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at
You
Disneyland,
have.
and I got to tell you, it is fucking incredible.
Yeah, dude, those pictures look
Yeah,
insane.
I saw your pictures. I was jealous a little
How
bit.
did you do that? Did you get like?
I got a reservation.
You made a reservation
Yeah,
online.
now it's kind of open to the
public,
to the raging public.
Right.
But I got a reservation in advance. It was like it's the closest thing to going to an alien planet I think we have.
That's
it
so cool.
really,
That's
I don't know
it
about
is-
that.
Well, I mean that and the Rock and Roll Ralph's that I was just at on Sunset.
That's a good point.
Okay. I stand corrected, but it is
It's
a
legit.
work of fucking art. It is
That's awesome.
next level. It is, I have to say, and I'm not kidding, the description of the higher dimension that people have gone to on psilocybin or DMT, when people have talked about going to a higher dimension and saying it's realer than real,
Yeah.
there are elements of this park that feel that way. When you were
Really?
standing looking at the Millennium Falcon and this like black spire petrified tree sculpted backdrop, it looks realer than real. Like
Wow.
the detail and the colors are just a little bit more heightened than you would see in anything in real life. But it's all really there, and it's all, sculpted and
I can't wait to go.
handcrafted. It is
Yeah.
unfucking believable. Some of these pictures that I took, it looks like there's a computer generated backdrop.
Yeah.
And I have to think that somewhere, somehow in this process, There is information from a higher dimensional reality coming down, dripping down into our reality and making itself manifested in the third dimension. Guys, it is the closest
Wow,
it is the
this is a glowing
closest thing
review.
I have ever seen to a movie coming to life in our world.
What do they call
It
what do they call the Disneyland artists? Or the
Imagineers.
Imagineers,
Yes.
right? I imagine like the supervisor coming in. Okay, guys, today's our DMT drop. Let's do this shit.
But I'm telling you,
Sarah, you want to start?
the Star Wars dimension is breaking through into our reality, and it is a strong entity. And I'm telling you, it's
Can't
not.
wait to see it.
Look, it's still an amusement park, but I gotta say, you don't know you're at Disneyland, and that's not a bad thing. I love Disneyland. You are in a different world when you're there, and I can't help but just feel like it was in the back of my mind. Terrence McKenna was there in the back of my mind. I was like, this is realer than real.
Wow.
Something is
Glowing review from
changing.
magical.
It's changing our reality. It is a physical construct that alters your reality when you walk into it, and it's only going to get cooler.
Wow.
So
That's good art.
you
There
gotta go, guys.
Some good
It's
ass art right there.
Yeah,
fucking
I can't wait.
awesome.
I really can't wait to
All
check
right,
it out.
cool.
It is like installation art on another level.
Dude, it is
Yeah.
great.
Oh, that's so cool. So cool.
Yeah, Bryce, you've been off. You've come back from your secret project. Are you
Yeah.
done?
No, I have a little bit more to go. But just a teaser, man. I think when I get to announce, when I'm allowed to announce what I'm working on, it's not only will it be cool, but the stuff we've been doing has been really amazing. So I'm totally stoked. And
Can you tell us where you just came from?
yeah, I came from Maryland.
Okay, Maryland.
But I've been in other places as well. I'm sort of traveling the country.
Yeah, you posted a video not too long ago of you on like some sort of. Were you on like an?
It's like a lake or something.
Were you out in like some all-terrain vehicle
Oh,
yeah,
that one with
yeah,
the coffee.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was a
in
good
the
one.
Yeah.
woods?
That might have been the Pacific Northwest on a cool
Okay.
side by side.
So you've been coast to coast on this project.
Fucking coast to coast, dog.
All right,
Wow.
Yeah. In fact, I brought you guys some gifts. I wonder if I should just pull them out.
let's do it right now.
Yeah.
All right. I don't want to give too much away, but
Well, can I ask you? Have you? Whoa! Are these 8x10 autographed
Wow.
photos
Let's have a
of
look
Bob
here.
Gimlin?
yes, they are.
Holy
Whoa!
shit.
Unreal!
Oh my God.
I am taking a photo of
Straight
this
to the
right
frame.
now.
I'm glad you guys appreciate that
Wow.
because there's so many people who are like, "Who's that cowboy?" I'm like, "Oh boy,
I'll
here
tell
we
you.
go."
I'll tell you who that guy
On
was.
It's
October
America's
20th,
dad, Bob
1967.
Gimlin.
That's America's dad right there, boy.
That is the spirit of freedom
This
with a
is the
handlebar
spirit.
mustache.
Look
Yeah.
at it.
Yeah.
Nothing says July 4th like Bob Gimlin.
Oh
You know what I'm saying?
man, he
Yep.
is a true American hero.
He really
Yeah.
is a true American hero,
These
and
are so awesome.
and he's,
Now, how did
he's
you-
reached legend status.
How did you get those?
Well, it's part of the project I'm working on, and I can't give away too much, but I mean that's a hint, if any hint, you know. so-
Wow.
So it's about vampires. Is what
Yes,
you're
it's
saying.
about vampires.
Can I
Got it.
ask you this
Blood-sucking ways.
without giving too much away?
Mm-hmm.
Are you any closer to the truth?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Really?
Yeah. For sure.
Do we have cool updates that you can give us off mic?
Yes.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah.
We got a couple in contact in the desert off mic.
Yeah.
Do you have more than that?
Yeah.
Oh.
Fuck, dude, guys.
This is good.
I'm telling
It's
you,
getting good.
I know you're pissed at us because this has been going on for a
Really
I
long
know.
time.
Sorry, I'm under a non-disclosure, but
you're gonna be super excited.
yeah, it'll be exciting.
Wow. Okay,
Cool.
great.
All right, yeah. This is a
Cool.
good catch up.
That's awesome. Anything
Yeah.
else you want to mention about your trip?
No, I'm having a blast, and I'm doing what I love, and I missed you guys.
We missed you too, and we
buddy.
missed
Yep.
each other. You will, of course,
Mm-hmm.
be able to sit down with Riley and me as soon as possible and
Oh, my
talk
God.
about this project, and we will let
In detail.
Bigfoot Collectors Club Scouts know
Oh my God, they're gonna
First.
get. Oh, for sure.
what's going on.
Hands down.
Okay, cool.
Scoops.
All right. So we're not tormenting you. You know, if I could get it out of him right now, I would.
I know.
Can I?
I know. No.
You cannot.
No.
Can Riley?
No. No.
Can this team of lawyers?
Can you drop one tiny hint.
Well,
One
he just
more
gave you
one
an
more.
autographed Bob Dylan photo.
Give us,
What more do you want?
It can be a word.
Show some
It
gratitude.
can be a word. It can be a word.
No,
for our listeners.
no.
Our listeners didn't get an autographed Bob Dylan headshot. I'm talking to the Club Scouts out there. It's
He's
4th
so-
of July.
Look at Michael working
Give
his
him
ways.
one
really
little
working.
tease.
He's
One little tease.
working his ways.
It can be anything. It can be
No.
mysterious.
Gimlin. That's the word.
No. One little thing.
Idaho.
Idaho. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Okay, so we got Pacific Northwest, Idaho, and Maryland. Great. Love it. Thank you.
Put the puzzle pieces together, people.
Great.
We
You do it.
love it. See how I get what I want? I walk away. It's all
You're
good.
good. You're good.
Do it for our listeners.
I walk away.
I walk away.
It's a
Riley.
catchphrase.
Riley, what do you got? How you've been on
I went
tour
on a
with
little tour.
Spindrift?
Yeah, it was so fun. We did like 5 shows. We went and visited our label, Alternative Tentacles, in San Francisco, which was like a little tiny backstory. So Spindrift signed with Alternative Tentacles, which is run by Jello Biafra, who's the singer from the Dead Kennedys.
You are wow.
It's like the coolest thing ever. The thing that's really crazy about it is that I used to work like 10 years ago in a screen print shop that was right next door to Alternative Tentacles, and I printed like all their merch working in the screen print shop. And I was like, one day I'm going to put out a record on AT.
Wild.
And then it actually happened like 10 years later. And so we went back, and the offices are still there. So I got to walk into the offices, and they were like hanging out, and they're giving us all these records, and they're like, and we were kind of being really shy about it. And they're like, no, like we want you to take these records. We want you to hear your label mates. And that's like when it hit me, like, oh, like label mates.
Label mates. I love that.
It feels so good. Because like I've been a professional musician for many years, but I have not like had my name on a proper record contract.
You've never had label mates?
Ever.
Really?
No, everything's been self-released or working on different things or like making music for TV and film. Never just like a proper like making a record for a label that is like a serious label that I respect.
Congratulations.
Dude, that's awesome.
So it's really great.
Awesome.
Yeah, this like very full circle moment. So
And
yeah.
you have Bigfoot Collectors Club to thank for that.
Well,
I mean,
All of our dreams are coming true because of this podcast.
you so deserve it. And for the people who haven't seen our studio through our Instagram, I mean, it's littered with musical instruments, and Riley really can just sort of grab anything and impromptu just swing it, man. He's like, you're
Thanks,
just
man.
so musical. And yeah, dude,
I gotta say,
so
everyone
cool.
loved
Thanks,
you
man.
on that. What was that weird drum you were playing in Contact?
oh
in
yeah, the
desert?
hang
Oh,
drum.
yeah,
I
yeah.
The
always
hang
wanted to
drum.
get
People
my hands
keep
on one of
saying,
those.
wanting to know if you bought that drum.
Let's just
I
call it
wish
UFO
that I
drum.
did, but it was like it was a lot
a
of
little
money. It was
overpriced,
too
right?
much. I
But
couldn't-
you're gonna get one of those.
Eventually, I will get one.
That
of those
shit
drums.
was good.
Yeah, they
those
were
are cool.
asking like $2,000 for that or something, right?
It was too much.
That's
yeah.
crazy.
It was too much. But I mean, they're an expensive instrument. They're handmade. But
Right.
Yeah.
besides the point. Anyways,
I'll make you one.
It was amazing. Like that was so cool. And then we got to hang out with Jello, and he's like helping sort of shape the record, and he's like kind of a musical hero to me. And so it's just like just such a great little run. And we came back and we played the Echo in LA, and it was almost sold out, not quite, but like packed to the walls.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
there was a mosh pit at the end of our set, which
No
I haven't had in
way.
a while. It was just like, yes, this is good. This is
Everyone
working.
loves a mosh
Wow,
pit.
man.
Yeah, it's good.
Living
no
the dream.
one
Totally.
has
Living the
ever
dream.
been
Yeah.
upset by anything that's happened in a mosh
Never.
pit.
That's never
No.
gone badly for
I love
anyone.
that, man. Good for you.
So that's great.
That's phenomenal.
It's 4th of July, or it will be tomorrow. Are you hanging out? Are you performing anywhere?
We're playing at Harvard and Stone. That's in August. I think August 8th. I think it's a little
Okay.
ways off. We're finishing up the record for Alternative Tentacles right now.
great.
So
Cool.
when I'm not in here with you guys, I'm in here with the band. We're working on the record.
That's why you don't.
Has anybody, just
check your
curious, has anybody
phone.
ever come up and be like, I love the podcast? Do you have any crossover fans?
Yeah, what
from-
do people say about us when you're
Yeah,
hanging out
yeah,
with
enough
Ross?
about you, Riley. What do your fans think about us?
There's not been a single one yet.
Okay, all
and
right.
I'm waiting for that moment.
It's coming.
That one crossover fan that's
It's
like
coming.
BCC Spindrift.
Seems like we
Yeah,
gotta.
that's coming.
We gotta promote Spindrift more on this show.
So if
maybe.
anybody wants
Dude,
to come to the
Spotify
Spindrift show,
Spindrift, their sound is freaking credible. Psychedelic Western. It's like Tarantino-esque. Like,
all right.
it's just fucking dope.
I like how this has just now become a commercial
Yeah.
for my band.
That's great.
Yeah.
Speaking of
take it.
commercials,
And
I
Sammy
will
Adams.
take it.
speaking of which, we're going to take a very, very quick break, and
Okay.
when we come back,
Disclosure.
we're going to catch up on all the stories that have been happening this summer,
Yeah, it's a shitstorm.
and do a little bit of a paranormal news story roundup.
Love
awesome.
it.
Great.
So, guys, it is our second annual 4th of July celebration, and I do have a story of high strangeness for you guys this week. However, it's been a minute since we've all been in the studio together. Last week's episode with Donna Lynn Champlin, amazing guest.
Yep.
We love her. Great fucking story about her encounters in Vegas. If you haven't listened to that, go back, check it out. It's awesome. That was recorded a few weeks ago. So we haven't seen each other for a while. And a lot is fucking happening in the news.
Yeah,
we
totally.
haven't even recorded since the story about the FBI investigating Bigfoot hair came out.
Right.
Do you guys remember this?
Yeah, Peter Burns' company, Oregon Bigfoot National Society, in the 70s sent a hair sample to the FBI, asking if they would look at it under their microscopes and possibly even do a DNA analysis.
This all came out in the Washington Post last month. And it turns out that, we've learned two things. One, that the FBI took it seriously enough to actually analyze.
Yeah, that's cool.
I mean,
That is
that's cool.
cool. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that they were didn't
all right.
just go whatever and ignore it. They actually took the time. And we all know that, Bigfoot was at a height of popularity in the 70s. So the FBI took it seriously enough to check it out. And it turns out it was what, Bryce?
Well, it came from the Deer family. It was a little disappointing, I guess. But I mean, what was I expecting? It's confirmed, So it was a little
that's what you were expecting.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. So it was a little clickbaity, and but at the same time, I guess it's cool. It's at least it's part of the composite picture of all this stuff coming out in the news, all this UFO stuff, and all these leaks, and all, and to see Bigfoot in there. In the Washington Post, I was like, hell yeah.
Well,
so that's great.
And it's funny because Peter Byrne never heard back until they released their files last month.
Yeah,
so
that's right. He thought they just dissed him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we've heard other stories of high strangeness where people send in samples and they don't hear back. So it also sets a precedent that maybe some of these other things that have been sent in for analysis, whether they be implants or strange metal or other biological samples,
Interesting.
will eventually come out in time with a yes or no.
That's a good point. A great point. Yeah.
But so that's kind of exciting, and it's all sort of happening couched in this era where we're learning about ATIP and we're learning about UAPs, and obviously we've talked about this again and again about the fact that yes, the Pentagon has admitted to studying UFOs. The Navy is now coming out saying we've seen this stuff. So I think one of the reasons they jumped on this was 40 years ago, FBI was studying Bigfoot, and they've released inconclusive evidence, but we're getting some answers to some
and
old
at
cases.
least they're looking. That is really nice.
Yeah, that was encouraging.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah,
I've been saying this a few times, but it seems to be like this sort of thing, this paranormal phenomenon, and you can throw Bigfoot in there as well, but it seems to be coming back into the zeitgeist.
I definitely think so.
There seems to be people are very interested in what's taking place, and when you can get New York Times covering it and Washington Post, and that does nothing but help the case that because now you can go home at Christmas time and say, hey, did you see that UFO article in the Times?
Totally.
Did you see that Bigfoot article in the Post?
It really,
and they're
very
like,
much,
I did, yeah. And so it helps eliminate some of that taboo.
Lewis, I told you if you come back in this house talking about Bigfoot one more time, Washington Post, that's fake news.
You gotta wake up, Dad. You gotta wake up and see the world around you, Dad. It's right there in your goddamn morning rag. Just look at it.
Now, why don't you come sit on my lap while I play you a little tune about a frog named Clarence and a magical relationship he had with a rabbit. I have my
I'm so
pastimes too, Lewis.
I thought you were jumping into like a high strangeness. I'm like, are we
go.
starting?
Here we go.
Oh,
Great.
Lewis's dad.
I like that Lewis's dad is not just a one-dimensional character, or two-dimensional.
Yeah, no.
Well, let's talk about some of this
He's
stuff
an interdimensional character.
that's popping out, right? Didn't you want to like...
I did, yeah. So one of the big things that happened when we were at Contact in the Desert, and you guys missed this, but I was at the panel with a bunch of UFO people, and they were complaining about how there was a report on a website called The Intercept that called out Luis Elizondo, the guy who was the retired Pentagon official, worked for the Department of Defense. He was the one that spoke to the New York Times about the ATIP program that was studying unidentified flying objects, or aerial phenomenon, as they're now being called more and more UAPs instead of UFOs.
Sure.
He works with Tom DeLonge and at Academy to the Stars now, because he believes that it's a better way to get the messaging out and to get information out about this stuff than working within the government in top secret programs.
Yeah,
which,
he officially
makes sense.
He officially resigned ATIP, stating that they weren't taking it seriously enough, and he thought this was a matter of utmost importance. So he left that job title.
Right, and I guess they've had a show come out on the History Channel recently that's produced by To the Stars, Academy
Unidentified.
Inside America's
Yeah,
UFO Investigation.
it's
I haven't
fascinating.
watched it yet.
It's great.
Okay, good. So I wanted
It's
to.
great.
I assumed you'd seen it.
I mean, you have, well, what I love about it is you have pilots that are in charge of nuclear armament that are,
High-level people.
high. I mean, come on. And these are high-level people in charge of,
The most important
the
things.
most important equipment they
Yeah.
can get their hands on. And when they're reporting this stuff on their, field missions, along with other pilots, we have to take that seriously. And just to give you an example, like Bill Nye, and I love the guy. He was on, I forget what, maybe Fox or something, and he was just like, the guy asked him, he was like, so what do you think of all this stuff out of the New York Times? And just so matter of fact, he was just like, look, this is just probably some top secret military equipment that they didn't know about. And it's just like, how dare you, sir? How dare you? Are you up in that F-18 Super Hornet with the Black Aces? Are you seeing this with your own two fucking eyes? No, you're not. So get back in your lab and bubble some sodium nitrate and shut the fuck up, Bill.
Shut the
Oh my
fuck
God,
up,
Bill Nye, I love you personally. You have been called out.
I do
You have
too.
been called out on this show. You come
Well,
on to defend yourself.
you said-
Bill Nye, we're talking directly to you.
Here, you kind
I
of
love
hit
you.
the nail on the head that the UFO community is very volatile and angry bunch of nerds. No, it's true. Because people are freaking out that this writer, Chris Clore, called out, said, do we really know that Lou Elizondo ever worked at the Pentagon? And also this Chris Mellon guy, who was a former Deputy Secretary of Defense, I believe.
Yep.
Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for Clinton and Bush. He's also on the show. And Clore was like, guys, all these dudes work at for the production company that's making this show. So, of course, they're going to say that UFOs are real.
First of all, these are high-level dudes. We're talking about Hal Puthoff.
Bill Nye, you better start
Jim
running,
Semmy-
bitch.
These are guys that just decided, hey, let's do a show on history. I mean, these are guys who have been in the dark inner circles of military and government for the better part of 30 years, working on top secret.
Yes. And yes,
program.
The show is making a subject about the thing of which it is most interested in.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, by default, it is biased. However, it's they do have an agenda to get this information out to the public. So you either have to buy that at face value or not. Of course, many people have come to Lou Elizondo's defense. A lot of the UFO people out there, including George Knapp, are like, guys, he did work for the department. He did work for the Pentagon.
Let me tell you a little bit about how this stuff...
Chris Clore got his ass handed to him,
Let me tell you a little bit about how this stuff works.
So.
It's called plausible deniability. And what that means is all it takes is one Pentagon staff person to say, nope, he didn't work there. to get the infighting going. And what they do this in UFO information forever. They'll put out some information, they'll pull it back. They'll put it out and they'll pull it back, and they'll let the people fight amongst each other. They'll change dates, they'll change names, so that researchers will be fighting in amongst each other. It's a real document, or real information. Yet sometimes it's just missing a few pieces, and they do this on purpose. And this is how disinformation works.
It's only though in the UFO community that people would yell at people who have experience in this field for making a show about the thing that they have experience in the field about. That would be like if Riley made a show about musicians, really, and then people are like, well, fuck this guy. Of course he likes music. He's a musician. What an asshole. Like, how dare Bryce and Michael make a documentary about the history of television? They're TV actors. Of course they're going to want to talk about this
in the pocket
shit.
of big TV.
Yeah, it's like, that's not quite how it works. And they've been apparently very transparent about what they're trying to do, which is to get the word out about what's going on with UFOs and trying to get to the bottom of it. But I just thought it was so funny because this article came out and everyone got outraged while we were sitting at Contact in the Desert.
Oh, that's funny. Okay. Well, speaking of History Channel and this stuff being in the zeitgeist, I'm looking at a Deadline article that reads, History Channel greenlights paranormal nonfiction.
Your History Channel
greenlights paranormal nonfiction series, The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. Cool. So not only is Unidentified getting 6 episodes, but looks like they're going to do a little expose on Skinwalker Ranch.
Paranormal is taking over on TV.
I'm not sure. It says a nonfiction series from Ancient Aliens and the Curse of Oak Island. Executive producer Kevin Burns.
You know you love your Oak Island.
So I love me some Kevin Burns. And for those of you not familiar, it's actually been sort of stated that $22 million allocated for ATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, really didn't go towards the research of UFOs. It went to Bigelow's Skinwalker Ranch. And so that's where most of that money, those millions of dollars, were allocated, all to Skinwalker Ranch.
Guys, I promise we got some fun ghost stories coming up. I know we're doing some deep dives, but hang in there.
Well, this is all relates because not only does Skinwalker Ranch harbor UFOs and Bigfoots coming out of portals, but it has ghosts and it has poltergeist activity and it has orbs and it has portals that open up in the sky. I mean, so it just makes sense. If you're going to put money, if you're going to throw some money at this phenomena, what better place to throw it at than Skinwalker Ranch? So I'm really excited. I've always loved that story of just what is going on at that place, and that it segues perfectly into another big thing that I want to talk about is the Davis Wilson leak.
Yeah, what is this? I know a little bit about it, but what happened?
So there's a lot there. So the Davis Wilson leak, Richard...
Who's Davis? Who's Wilson?
Yeah, I'll get to that.
And what was leaking?
Well, Richard Dolan, who is, bar none, one of the finest UFO historians, authors there is in the business, he calls this the leak of the century.
Really?
And I'll get into a little bit why. But so the Davis part is Dr. Eric Davis. Now, he was a guy that worked for NIDS, which is Robert Bigelow's scientific company.
The company that took over Skinwalker Ranch.
That's right. And actually, Eric Davis was the one that had a personal interaction with the phenomenon. He's the one that saw that predator-like being cloaked.
Oh, cool.
And who got the...
crawled out of the wormhole?
No, that was the Bigfoot that crawled out of a wormhole. We're talking about this creature that he described as like, just like you saw on the movie Predator when it cloaks, and it's like, kind of, and it's
so
like in the woods. Yeah, and he's the one that actually he got a telepathic message. No, that'd be so cool.
Yeah.
But he got a telepathic message from this entity that said, "We're watching you.
Well, okay.
Be warned."
Telepathically.
So this was Eric Davis. So now he's considered not just a scientist for future propulsion systems and light beam lasers. He's an experiencer. So he actually had experiences on that ranch that no one else did. That's Eric Davis, right? So this is the guy we're talking about. And the other part, Wilson, is Rear Admiral Wilson, who was the assistant.
I thought it was Luke Wilson.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Owen.
Or Owen Wilson.
Oh, it's Owen Wilson's brother.
Why
He
is there a
is
weird
deep
monster
in there.
running around?
That's really good.
What monster have anything to do with us? What did we ever do?
I mean, why can't he just step out
Why
of the
can't-
portal?
Listen,
I
we're all
don't
just
know.
trying to get along here.
Does he have a gun that opens the portal?
Just try to sit down and talk to it for a minute.
That's great.
I'm
That's
gonna go
great.
inside.
Yours is,
Really
that was
nailing it.
amazing.
Yeah. I smell a spinoff.
I know. I kind of like your Wilson better. So the other Wilson to the Davis Wilson leak is Rear Admiral. I think his name is Tom Wilson. And anyway, so he was at the time
As played by Owen.
Yes,
Owen
as played by Luke Wilson.
Luke Wilson.
He was the assistant deputy director of the DIA and Joint Chiefs
I'm
of
an
Staff.
assistant deputy director.
I'm not going to be able to get this out of my head for the remainder of this story.
You ruined the leak. Now everybody's just going to think Luke Wilson.
Listen, we're not trying to alarm. I'm not trying to alarm anyone here. We're just trying to get to the bottom of it.
Okay, continue.
So-
Bryce, but also continue, Michael.
That's amazing. So the leak was a memo that was given to it was what they're saying in the UFO community is that this was released through Dr. Edgar Mitchell's files. Dr. Edgar Mitchell was the sixth man to walk on the moon, Apollo astronaut, and he was also part of NIDS, who worked for Robert Bigelow. So he passed away quite recently, and now all these documents start leaking. But anyway, I'll go into it. It's a 15-page document. I recommend you look it up online. Just look up Davis Wilson leak. Google Richard Dolan. He's the one, and Grant Cameron. They're the two guys that have been, on this topic. But what it says was this guy, Rear Admiral Wilson, he caught wind through a briefing of Stephen Greer, actually. They were like, he's like, this is what's going on with unacknowledged special access projects. And he's like, well, I'm interested. I want to go talk to these people. And so he goes to talk to these people that he knows are working on an SAP or a special access project. And they just stall him right out.
SAP.
It's SAP.
Quick break.
And they're basically, the memo admits that even though he had the authority to be overseeing this project, they completely shut him out. They're like, sorry, you don't have a need to know.
I mean, that's
And
just
he
not the
was
right attitude to
livid.
have when you're trying to build a sense of community.
But what they did tell him, and just to give you a little context, this is a transcribed sort of memo that Eric Davis took in a car with Admiral Wilson outside of EG&G. EG&G is that place where they interview employees to go to Area 51 and shit like that. But anyway, so Eric Davis took these copious notes, and in it, Admiral Wilson relays his run-in with these three guys running this special access project and their lawyer, and how they shut him down. And he was fucking livid. And so much so that they were even like, look, you're on your way to four-star admiral, right? You keep pursuing this, we could take away a couple stars. So not only were they like, stay away, they threatened his credentials.
I mean, what have these guys ever done with their lives?
In the memo,
we're gonna need to get you to read this. The lines
in the
of this
memo, it talks
That's
about
a full page intro.
It talks about reversed engineering alien spacecraft. It talks about the intact spacecraft, which kind of, if you think about that word, is very important. It doesn't mean
Not
crash.
crashed.
It means intact.
It means
there's
handed
stuff
over
in there
or
like
traded.
we're still trying to figure out how it all works. The project is very compartmentalized, so it works very slow. But it's an explosive leak that really validates how runaway these special access projects are, that you can't get inside them. Even if you were a rear admiral on the J2 Joint Chiefs of Staff, you can't get there from here.
This is why presidents don't know.
That's
They're
right.
not being told this shit.
That's right. And it really backs up a lot of what Stephen Greer has talked about, in the sense that, these programs have run away, and they're really,
The budgets, the black budgets for these things, like the stuff that goes into the Groom Lake budget for all the Area 51 stuff, it's like there's this whole, I read an article about this whole like other massive amount of money that's just basically,
And no one knows where it went.
it's unaccounted for.
Yeah.
It's like
It's so much
billions
money.
of
Yeah,
dollars.
many billions. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what it's these kind of projects that are something's being funded by it.
Well,
It's
in
not
that
just
memo,
disappearing.
when Davis is talking to Wilson, he specifically says, the guys told me it's reverse engineering. And there's quotes in there, not from this this world, not made by human hands.
I'm a little
So they're literally saying in black and white, yeah, this is an extraterrestrial craft. We have it, and we're working on it.
I'm a little confused by this. Maybe you can clarify. So this is leaked by the person that was kept out. That's what you're telling me?
No, so this is a conversation between Admiral Wilson and Eric Davis, the guy who saw Predator. It was leaked through Reddit. Nobody really knows who officially leaked it.
So have we confirmed that this is
a real
it's authentic.
document?
Oh, absolutely. Greer's been on Jimmy Church Fade
Said
to Black
with
saying...
with the conviction
Well,
of a true
believer.
paranoid
No.
conspiracy
Well, not
theorist.
only that, because these documents were floated around 6 months prior to them ever being leaked. So Richard Dolan had eyes on a couple pages of these through one of his intact sources. Grant Cameron was sitting on these documents for almost 8 months. He had them. He didn't want to release them. He's like,
Who's confirmed that they're real?
Dolan, Grant Cameron, Stephen Greer.
Okay.
So it's like the
so
tribe.
people involved are actually saying, yes, these are real.
And, Grant Cameron put out another memo that was leaked from Edgar Mitchell's files just to say, hey, Mitchell's files are spilling out, and it was a little less explosive
What we really got to do
memo.
is get some new file cabinets. I've been complaining about
Yeah.
the dysfunction of the engine. The craftsmanship is just below standard.
But wild stuff, man.
That is wild stuff.
It's hard to interpret it and extrapolate all the information. So if you want to know more about it, just go to YouTube and type in.
Go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And good luck.
Boy.
Well, no,
have fun.
No, Richard Dolan does his program off of there, and you can find Grant Cameron
Just
videos.
as soon as things start steering into that,
But so basically, the headline here is that he's
sketchy territory
confirming
back out.
a project of reverse engineering a complete
that's
craft.
right. Yeah,
That's
exactly right. Let me see if I can pull out some highlights from.
Wow.
Yeah, but it's crazy. Let me see. What we have here is a very powerful statement of a small group of people. Eric Davis, Hal Puthoff, Kit Green, Edgar Mitchell.
Now, what are you reading from right now?
This is from Richard Dolan's website.
Okay, what's that called?
This is called richarddolanmembers.com.
Okay.
And he's got all 15 pages of the memo.
Now,
put
it
up
should
there.
be said, it's fair to say that Richard Dolan is definitely a big UFO nut.
I wouldn't call him nut. He's more, he's
well,
always taken
fan.
No.
Stan.
No.
He stands UFO.
He's a historian.
Okay.
He's always worked in referencing actual historical documents. So he's not just like a researcher of like, I'm looking into Atlantis.
But
no,
he's
a guy
balls deep in this stuff.
Yeah, balls deep. And so is Grant Cameron. These guys work with Freedom of Information Act reveals, and they work with they work with the history of the subject. So
and they've gotten results with doing.
They
Freedom
don't
of Information
speculate.
Act
They don't do any of that shit. All they do is just it's very factual based. So
cool,
very good stuff. Anyway, and then. Yeah. Oh, and you'll love this.
Well, read what you're going to read.
Oh, I'll always just go on to other
it's
stuff.
the pain. He's distracted by the pain.
I know.
Also, maybe the mockery could be that.
It's not mockery.
Let's see.
Clarifying.
Choo. Right now.
So what we've got here.
I'm just reading. There's so much to read. Right now, we're moving in a very well-defined direction towards some form of disclosure on UFOs. I've been calling it controlled disclosure because, well, it's been tightly controlled to produce a certain spin on the phenomenon, says Richard Dolan.
So this is the thing right now that's really popular is everyone's saying we're getting what's called soft disclosure, that they're giving it out little by little.
Yep.
And just be aware for UFO fans out there, because even Trump's now in on the game. A lot of this is being teased out to get you to vote in certain ways in 2020. I'm letting you know.
You think so?
Oh,
well, that's just because you just heard that at the
I
Contact
witnessed
in the
it
desert.
in a crowd of people by a former congressman, politician, saying, yeah, if you want to know more, stay tuned for the second term. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So, no one really knows. No one really knows, but we are living in a time where these documents, whether they be these FBI, Bigfoot stuff, also some of this just has to do with time. And the older we get and the longer that this shit sits around, the more likely it's gonna come out. So,
well, and that's what I loved about it. It was really just a malfeasance on the part of the guys who run these groups not to go to Edgar Mitchell's files once he passed and secure them. And
but Trump did make a statement this week, being like, "Oh yeah, I know about that. That's very interesting. I'm gonna do something about that." Like he even was like,
he doesn't know.
No,
either.
he doesn't. Of course,
you know
that's my point.
That's the thing about, and that's a great point. Is like he doesn't
but
have.
He knows
he doesn't have
that
a need
there are
to
people
know.
that are going to vote for him that believe or think that he might.
So he's not briefed in on all these.
No.
But when USAPs.
But when you're talking about it, the soft reveal for like a controlled spin, like what is the spin and who's controlling it?
That's the question, isn't it? So
That's-
it's like,
so, yeah.
is it the TTSA people, or is it the consciousness people? Is it the military industrial complex people? You know, who knows? We just sort of got to follow the breadcrumbs and try and like, you know, make heads or tails as best we can. You know?
It seems like the spin, just from thinking about it, what's being released through that lens would be sort of like, we've got this under control.
Yeah,
seems like that's the spin. Like, oh yeah, we've been studying it. Don't worry about it.
Well, or
I think
as some people would like to say that it's like, you know, right now the card that's being played is that, hey, this is putting our men and women in uniform in danger, especially our Navy pilots. You know, this is a national security threat. Maybe we should put some money at this. You know.
Also, it's this idea
I see.
that like
That's
people who have been like the armchair molders for decades that are like have been waiting for the moment when a president walks down an aisle and announces on TV that UFOs exist, or they're waiting for a flying saucer to land on the lawn of the White House. They're saying, okay, that's not the way this is going to happen. How it's going to happen is through a soft, slow, controlled disclosure that the deep state is going, you know, again, a lot of this stuff, I'm telling you guys, goes into conspiracy theory realms very quickly.
Deep state,
it really
those words
does.
have been co-opted, but that to deny that there's these, you know, these groups that run these programs of, you know, reverse engineering these vehicles is a disservice. That you could call them what you want, deep state, cabal, you know,
The Illuminati.
or just you know, private you know, groups.
Well, it would be like specialized military studies.
Private contractors.
Yeah.
But it takes place. So, you know...
I don't know so much that it does. I tend to still think that they don't know what the fuck they're encountering. And
they don't know what they're encountering, and this memo says that. Like, we don't exactly know how it works. It's very slow progress. Sometimes we bring it out, we put it back away, you know... But make no mistake, this document says, yes, it's a craft that's intact, that's not made from Earth, it's not made by human hands.
if the document is real.
And it's pretty much
Authentic.
real. So
Okay, if it's authentic. Yeah, Trump was asked about the U.S. Navy pilots, and he said, I think it's probably, I want them to think whatever they think. They do say, and I've
this is
seen,
real.
and I've read, and I've heard, and I did have one very brief meeting on it, but people are saying they're seeing UFOs. Do I believe it? Not particular. We're watching, and you'll be the first to know.
Sometimes
So,
I want them to think what they think. Okay.
When people read Trump quotes, I like to picture him as like a beat poet with bongos.
Right,
you know?
right,
So he's
right.
really got this kind of loose verse to everything. I want them to think.
So another big story that happened this week, or the last week, or the week before, as you're listening to this at home, and this is the final story that I want to talk about before we go into this week's story of high strangeness. UFOs over my hometown of Kansas City.
Saw that
On
article, yeah.
June 20th, 2 white objects were seen in the bright blue Kansas City skies, and people were like, what the fuck are these? They were spherical in nature, they were round, they were white, they were like moving around in weird ways. And
How long ago was this?
This is June 20th.
Wow.
So as we're recording this, not that long ago. This is over the weekend.
Gotcha.
And people were like, what the fuck is this? The National Weather Society came out. They tweeted, honestly, we have no idea what this is. And And people thought they might be balloons by Google that Google's using to help, map everything and do satellite stuff or whatever. And they have a project called Project Loom that sends up weather balloons. Nope, it's none of that stuff. So now people are saying that what they were something called an Alta balloon by Project DARPA. Which is a military project.
Defense Association for Research, something, right?
So on June 18th, DARPA launched 3 balloons from Cumberland, Maryland in a flight test for the Adoptable Lighter-Than-Air program, Department of Defense spokesperson Heather Bobb told Gizmodo. Alta will demonstrate capability for windborne navigation of a lighter-than-air vehicle over extended ranges. Now, they said that, okay, we launched these, but no one in the military confirmed that that's what people were actually seeing over Kansas City.
I thought DARPA claimed them. Did they not?
They claimed that they launched them, but they did not claim.
They're not saying that those are actually them.
In the articles that I was looking up, they didn't officially say that they were. But the goal of the Adaptable Lighter-Than-Air Alta program, this is from their website, is to develop and demonstrate a high-altitude, lighter-than-air vehicle capable of windborne navigation over extended ranges. The balloons can fly at altitudes of more than 75,000 feet. While they do not have independent propulsion, the Alta vehicle is designed to navigate by changing altitude and thus taking advantage of different wind profiles aloft.
Cool.
A state-of-the-art winds aloft sensor, WAS, is also...
We call it WAS.
We call it WAS Queen. It's also being developed on the program, which is intended to provide real-time stratospheric wind measurements. So the thing is, they're just fucking weather balloons.
Classic.
Basically just saying
Classic.
again,
They're just playing the hits.
They're weather balloons. They're just balloons.
It's just balloons,
so
guys.
It's just funny that...
just like a Contact of the Desert, I just kept saying it was balloons.
That was not a balloon.
They're balloons.
That was a craft.
DARPA's rad, though. Just
the
sidebar.
Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency.
Yeah, there's a lot of smart people working there.
Well,
Yes.
anyways,
Making cool
Kansas
stuff.
City had a thrill, and I'm sure there are people out there that won't accept that answer. But,
You're sitting right next to one. That's some bullshit.
Yeah, I do like that they were like, really? We're doing weather balloons again,
I know,
guys?
it's just,
All right.
it is pretty funny. All right, guys, we're going to take a break. When we come back, it's time for this week's patriotic story of high strangeness.
Regale us, Michael. Regale us.
Well, boys, it's 4th of July, and it wouldn't be a celebration of our nation's Day of Independence without a story that connects presidents to the paranormal. Of course, this year, I've decided to tackle the thing that has scared me the most as a child. That's right. Today, I'm going to talk to you guys about Abraham Lincoln's ghost. Now, I feel like it would be improper to discuss Lincoln's ghost without first addressing his death, which, of course, was a murder, an assassination at the hands of John Wilkes Booth on April 14th, 1865. Booth was a famous actor based in New York City, but he was a Confederate sympathizer. In March of 1865, just weeks before Robert E. Lee would surrender at Appomattox, thus ending the Civil War, Booth and a group of conspirators had planned to kidnap Lincoln in Richmond, Virginia, until the president foiled their plot by not showing up at their planned abduction point.
Fucking theater folk.
Again, I just want to emphasize, we've talked about this in the past, that John Wilkes Booth came from a family of actors. His dad, I believe, was an actor. His brother was an actor. They were basically like the Baldwins or like the Francos of their era. So you just have to think of imagine if James Franco or Dave Franco tried to assassinate a president. It's just, you know what I mean? He was a famous, well-known actor of his era. It's just very bizarre.
Right.
It's tragic and bizarre, but So Booth learned that Lincoln would be attending a production of Our American Cousins, starring acclaimed British actress Laura Keane, at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. on April 14th, just 5 days after the Civil War had ended. At 10:15 p.m., Booth snuck into Lincoln's box, where he was sitting with Mary Todd Lincoln, his wife, and Army officer Henry Rathbone and his fiancée, Clara Harris, and shot the president in the back of the head with a single-shot .44 caliber Derringer pistol. Rathbone, the young officer, rushed Booth, who stabbed Rathbone in return before leaping out of the box and tumbling onto the stage below, shouting, "Sic semper tyrannis." Booth broke his leg but managed to escape in the chaos on horseback. Sic semper tyrannus, of course, means "and thus to all tyrants," meaning fuck these guys. Because he, of course, saw Lincoln as a tyrant. Now, according to a story that would become a legend a couple decades later, Lincoln's former law partner and sometimes bodyguard, Ward Hill Layman, claimed that just a few days before the assassination, Lincoln had had a dream where he walked into the East Room of the White House to see a crowd of soldiers gathered around a coffin mourning. When Lincoln asked who had died, one of the dream soldiers turned to him and responded mournfully, "The president. He was killed by an assassin." Some members of Lincoln's cabinet even recalled that Lincoln awoke the morning of his assassination saying that he had had a dream of sailing across a great unknown sea in a ship. A 23-year-old doctor by the name of Charles Leal rushed to Lincoln's box after the sound of Mary Todd Lincoln's screams alerted the audience that Booth's appearance on stage was in fact unscripted. Lincoln was paralyzed and struggling to breathe. The president was rushed across the street to a boarding house where he was surrounded by close friends, family, and Vice President Andrew Johnson, who stood vigil with him overnight. Lincoln was finally pronounced dead on April 15th at 7:22 a.m.
Tax day.
Thanks for really helping drive home that
You
dramatic
punctuated
point.
that moment.
You're welcome, Michael. Tax day.
Since his murder, there have been a number of sightings of Lincoln's ghost by many well-known persons throughout history. Grace Coolidge, wife of President Calvin Coolidge, 1923 to 29, is the first person considered to have made her encounter public in an article she wrote for American Magazine. Grace claimed to have spotted the spectral vision of Lincoln peering out of his former office window, now known as the Lincoln bedroom.
I saw him peering out the window
Across the Potomac River
across the Potomac.
at the former Civil War battlefield.
It was him, I swear.
Lincoln's spirit made his presence strongly felt during another period of American upheaval, World War II. Eleanor Roosevelt used the Lincoln bedroom as her study and often said that she felt him present with her while she would work late at night. Is there a UFO landing on the White House lawn
Yeah,
right now?
always.
That was a ghostly presence.
Oh.
Shh, Michael.
Her secretary, Mary Eben, claims to have seen Lincoln in the White House's northwest bedroom, sitting on the bed and putting on his boots and rushing off as if he were in a hurry. FDR's valet, Cesar Carrera, allegedly ran from the White House screaming after he claimed to encounter Lincoln's specter. Even Winston Churchill had a run-in with Old Honest Abe. While visiting the White House, the Prime Minister was walking out of the bathtub, completely naked, and saw Lincoln standing by the fireplace in his room.
Also hot.
Churchill said that he told the ghost, "Good evening, Mr. President. You seem to have me at a disadvantage."
That old charmer.
Churchill.
Every time.
He's got a line for every occasion. And they said that while he seemed cool about the encounter, he refused to sleep in that room ever again whenever he came back. And Churchill wasn't the only foreign dignitary to have seen Lincoln's ghost during FDR's administration. Queen Wilhelmina from the Netherlands was staying at the White House when she was awoken by a knock at her door late at night. When she got up to answer, she saw President Lincoln standing at her door, and the Queen fainted.
Mm-hmm.
Harry Truman never saw Lincoln's ghost, but he would encounter strange knocks and moving objects while living in the White House.
Really?
He wrote in a letter to his wife, Bess, "The floors pop and the drapes move back and forth. I can just imagine old Andy and Teddy having an argument over Franklin." Of course, referring to Andrew Jackson, Teddy Roosevelt, Franklin Roosevelt. Andrew Jackson's ghost was also said to have haunted the White House. And Truman would claim, would say that the knocks, the weird knocks that he heard was, he thought, Lincoln walking around. However, Truman's successor, Dwight D. Eisenhower, did, in fact, see Lincoln.
Really?
He encountered him one evening while walking down a hallway. He looked up to see a tall figure rounding the corner and walked straight at him. And it took him a moment before he realized that he was looking at the very image of Abraham Lincoln.
Cool.
Finally, Reagan's daughter, Ronald Reagan that is, Maureen and her husband Dennis Revel encountered Lincoln standing by their fireplace at night while visiting, which they did often. And Revel kept waking up Maureen and saying, "There's someone at the fire, there's someone." And I think this happened for a couple nights in a row, and she didn't believe him until finally she woke up one night and saw a man standing at the fireplace in a red coat or possibly robe. And at first she thought it was her father until she realized that she was staring at Abraham Lincoln and that he was transparent. She could see through him.
Right.
She told her father, Ronald Reagan, about the encounter, who responded, "Why don't you send him down the hall? I've got a few questions I'd like to ask him."
Of course he did. That old dog.
So, yeah, I mean, again, we've already proven on the show that ghosts are real.
Done. Yeah, we confirmed it here on our podcast.
Who else to believe as credible witnesses other than Winston Churchill, Dwight D. Eisenhower?
Liar.
I'm just saying, multiple people who've lived in this house have claimed to see Lincoln, and those are the only the ones that we know about.
Yeah.
I mean, we forget that America's first house is also its most haunted.
Boom. Well, let's talk about this
or at least one of the most haunted.
Let's talk about this for a little bit. I mean, so what do you think that is? Do you think that's just the traumatic energy of that event?
Well, I was going to say, the Lincoln has all the classic origin stories of ghosts and hauntings.
Right.
He lived in a traumatic time. He was a brave leader. He kept this country, intact.
He foresaw it in a dream.
Foresaw it in articles that I read. I guess
that was great, by the way, Riley.
Likewise.
Thanks.
That was a cool story. I didn't know.
Oh yeah, I mean this is why. I mean, also the dude just looks like a ghost. Let's be honest.
Totally, he's a perfect candidate.
He's like a perfect candidate to be
Yeah.
spooky. He's got a great costume with a stovetop hat, top hat,
Perfect ghost costume.
But like
yeah.
he, he's got all the right elements. He was murdered in a theater. Tragically before his time. His son, Willie Lincoln, who had died, he also was claimed to have seen, people would see his ghost in the White House. And people's legend says that his ghost appears in the White House during times of national upheaval and times when there is trouble on the horizon for the country.
Wow.
But he did. He. I guess there's a story too where he was worried. He had a dream that his son Todd that there was a gun that he had access to, and in the dream warned him to get the gun away from where his son could get it, and he had Mary Todd Lincoln move the gun because he did
listen to that dream.
He did apparently, and this is all sort of, even though he's not anywhere necessarily on record saying this, people around him and in his life said that he took dreams seriously, that when he had a prophetic dream, he would pay attention.
That's awesome.
And of course, Mary Todd Lincoln went on to become a participant in some degree in the spiritual movement. She would often hold seances,
Right.
Hoping to speak to her dearly departed husband. And there's a very famous, or not so famous, but there is a famous photograph of her taken by a photographer who did ghost photos where there seems to be an image of Lincoln standing over her shoulder, and that's of course it's a hoax, but it is her, but the photo isn't, it's meant to look like during that sort of late 1800s, turn of the century time when people had like what looked like ghost photos taken with dead family members. It's just, I just think that he has all the classic trappings. He's a mythic figure. He's as close to anything as American royalty that we will ever have, other than George Washington. He is a king in a way, and he is one of the most well-known, iconic Americans. So it's only natural that, I think it's likely that he is crossing back over and popping in and just keeping an eye on things. I don't think he's necessarily a soul that's trapped here on this plane. I think he probably is. It's more in line with the way that the spirit realm is described by Adela Levine. That that I imagine that he will just drop in on the White House from time to time and take a look at things.
He's achieved like bonus level status.
Yeah, and I think that
Totally.
he's got
dip in status.
He's got such
God mode.
strong karma, that I'm sure that dude can like fully manifest and walk around the White House with more ease than most spirits. You know what I mean? There's so much energy around that guy. I mean, we can easily conjure. Think about it. All of you listening at home, you can conjure the image of Abraham Lincoln in your mind instantly.
Do it tonight in your bedroom.
No, but I mean, like, that's a face that we all know.
Oh, yeah.
Better than some people that we know in our actual lives, So I don't know. I think it's if ghosts are powered by the collective unconsciousness and the ability to manifest themselves on an energetic level, then boy, I mean, he's got a shit ton of a collective unconscious to access to make that happen. So
very well put.
I don't know. I mean, he's a hero and he's a tragic figure, and his ending is so sad. It's very compelling. And it has all the classic beats of true crime, murder, assassination, and ghost stories. He's a macabre figure in his own right, And it's somebody that, as a boy, I was very fascinated by. You
were afraid of Abraham Lincoln as a child.
Yeah,
right?
I thought he was going to haunt me when I was a kid in April because that's when he was assassinated. But yeah, so that's what do you guys think?
I like there were multiple appearances at fireplaces. That seems like a perfect place for Lincoln's ghost.
Well, and I wonder if that means that, like, there's some element to the fire there, it being an elemental thing, that maybe that's an access way, a portal from the other side, perhaps, in the way that mirrors are often considered to be, or that water is. It would make sense that, maybe he's accessing this plane through the elemental powers of the fire.
I like that. Yeah.
Interesting.
I always view him as like a very contemplative figure too, like deep in thought.
Yeah,
very
yeah.
troubled,
Well,
like standing by the fire, like pondering the fate of the nation.
The dude had a lot to think about, and he was a sad guy. He was mourning the loss of his own son. His wife, by accounts, was dealing with some very troubling mental health issues and grief, as he supposedly was. You know, there were all those rumors that perhaps he was closeted, and so there was just a lot going on in that guy, and he was obviously super brilliant, super articulate, a graceful and powerful leader. So he's a fascinating American figure, and I guess I'm going to write a book on him now.
Seems like it, yeah.
Wow, okay.
I don't know.
One-man show,
Yeah.
perhaps.
There you go.
4 And so this is the episode of my impressions.
Yes.
Yes.
A real showcase.
That was awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And happy 4th of July to both of you.
Yeah.
How will you be celebrating?
In Canada.
Oh, once again in Canada.
No, yeah, that's not a snide remark. It's just that happens to coincide with our summer plans, and
Got
my
it.
wife's family's in Canada. But I will raise some stars and stripes while I'm there.
Yeah.
All
baby.
right.
Yes.
Wear some patriotic undergarments.
I will. I absolutely will. I do love this country. So
What about you, Riley boy?
I'll probably go downtown, maybe watch the fireworks from a roof somewhere.
Cool.
Try to shelter Nova from the
Yeah.
blast. That's the 4th of July is the day that Nova was picked up by the shelter.
oh wow.
A very good reminder as animal lovers on this podcast to double check, make sure your dogs are safe.
Yeah, that freaks them out.
The shelter gets a lot of dogs on 4th of July because they get out, they run out of their yards and their houses. There are a lot of guests over. People are keeping track. So make sure that your dog is happy, healthy, secure, and all of your other pets. Take good care of them on 4th of July.
Good point.
Mhm.
Amen.
Probably going to set Nova up in here because it's like soundproof.
Yeah.
So it won't freak them out. Just set them all up.
Well,
That's
I
nice.
love that, young man. And we love you, our listeners. Thank you. Everyone out there, have a safe and happy 4th of July. If you're living in a different country, same goes for you. It's still the 4th of July. It's not Independence Day, but we hope you're having a great summer.
Just a random
Just
day
a
of July.
random day of Wednesday or Thursday. Also, I want to thank everyone who supports us over at The Other Side, our Patreon page. And I want to thank everyone who has taken the time to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts
Yes,
and
sure.
put in
Thank you,
a
thank
review.
Yeah,
we're
help
getting
us.
more and more, but it really would help us if you guys would take a moment, go to Apple Podcasts, put in a 5-star review if we've deserved it, and if we've earned it, and it will help get the show to more people. And if anyone out there would like to start our group page on Facebook, please feel free. And yeah, I think that's it. All right, guys.
Cool.
Second annual 4th of July celebration is coming to a close. Let's go order a pizza and
Watch a Bigfoot movie.
Let's watch a Bigfoot movie.
Fucking
That sounds
do this.
awesome.
Yeah.
Done.
All right, guys. Have a good one, everybody.
Appreciate it.
Bye-bye,
Thanks.
everybody.
Happy Independence Day. Cue the fireworks.
Now Bryce just sits in here alone for like 20 minutes making fireworks noises.
What are you still doing here? We're all outside. We're outside watching the show.
Bigfoot Collectors Club is produced by Riley Bray. Our theme song is Come Alone by Suneaters, courtesy of Lotuspool Records. If you like the show, please rate and review us on iTunes. It really helps get the podcast to more listeners. To support the show, check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bigfoot Collectors Club and unlock multiple reward episodes every month.